Welcome to Rucks, Mauls and Oval Balls. We're back with the fans' favourite rugby podcast, talking all things rugby, and as ever, joined by the fans' favourite rugby podcast host. It's me, Dave, joined as ever by Rory. Rory, say hello to the listener. You know what to do.
Hello. Hello, David. Hello, listeners. How are you? Good to see you, David.
Oh, you're not going to let the listener reply?
Sorry. How are you, listener?
Insert pause here.
Excellent. Thank you. Great news.
Glad
How are you,
to hear.
David?
Oh, I'm very well. Thank you. I'm pleased to report I'm over the ailments that had me completely knocked out last week. I'm feeling, I'd say, 95% better.
Good.
Which, can't ask for much more than that. Maybe only 5% more. How are you, Rory?
I'm all right. Sad days for the Lions. The game didn't go ahead on Saturday as the Oppo couldn't get a team together.
Oh, no.
So we got a bye in the Cup. So that's a silver lining. But we had a very good team. So it would have been nice to have played the game.
Yeah. It's always always a bitter pill to swallow, I find.
It is. But to make up for it, I went down to the rugby club to watch the Ones play with a huge 43-27 win over North Walsham, of all teams.
Not North Walsham.
They were 27-12 down at one point and came back to win 43-27. Wow. Let me put that in some context for you. That is a 31-point swing.
That's quite some context. What would if you were to put your finger on one particular reason for why that happened, what would that one particular reason be?
They managed to tire out the North Walsham pack. Our pack's quite lightweight in comparison, so we were struggling at scrum time, but managed to sort of run them around the park enough to get the upper hand. And then the kicks started to stick, started to go to the right places, just to put them under pressure. And then just fitness and speed told in the end, really. But it was an excellent turnaround because it was looking at half time. We were all sort of looking at each other going, well, this is not going to plan in the slightest. So they were 22-12 down at half time. North Walsham scored early in the second half. And then we kicked a penalty from, 35, 40 metres out, something like that.
Yeah. Just
to get going. Then just the momentum just seemed to switch almost instantly.
Wow.
Passes started sticking and the boys scored some good tries in the end. So an excellent performance by the Ones.
Well, there I was thinking it was going to be a perfect platform for Roy to say it was because of an inspirational section in the matchday programme. As to
a huge boon for the podcast. We've made it all the way to the Westcliff Matchday programme now. If any other
page 26 or something like that.
Oh, I mean, it's prime real estate. And if any other rugby teams around the country want to put a section into their programs, be you in the sort of London and South East Premier sort of level, or be you, Prem
anywhere
level.
Else. Yeah, we'll take it.
We would be more than happy to provide a blurb.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, what a week for the podcast, and what a week for the podcast hosts. That's all I'll say. I'm feeling 95% better. Rory got to enjoy watching the Ones. Oh, it doesn't get better than that. But let's
living our best lives.
Let's canter on and hope the podcast can keep up the momentum of this generational positive start for the podcast that very rarely happens. We're going to be talking England squad for the Autumn Nations in general, the return of the PWR, and our usual canter through Prem Rugby Round 5, polishing off with our teams of the week and some weekend predictions. How does that sound, Rory? Does that sound like something you'd listen to?
Do you know what? I think I would.
Well, that's good because you're quite a big part of this. So let's start off. England squad announced for the upcoming Quilter Nations Cup, or, to you and I, the Autumn Internationals. What did you make of the squad? There's 2 uncapped players. The rest are returning players to the squad. Jack Kellingham and Noah Kalori getting the nod ahead of Adam Radwan, which I think I've seen a couple of Leicester fans have an issue with. I wonder why.
No, they wouldn't, David. They're a pretty meek and reserved bunch in my experience.
No, yeah, exactly.
Look, I can see why you'd be aggrieved if you were a Radwan fan, which actually I am, and I think he's a brilliant player. But you have to accept that the spot that he was effectively competing for in that squad was sixth choice winger, which is effectively, in this case, it's the opportunity to bring a 19-year-old with a massive ceiling in and just stick him in the environment for an extended period of time.
Yeah,
I to be honest, I would be pretty amazed if he got any minutes on the pitch over the next 4 weeks. He may well end up still going off and playing with the A team.
Yeah, that's what I suspect.
But this is just an opportunity for them to keep him in the environment to see how he reacts with an extended time on the training paddock with the best players in the country. So I can see why you'd be annoyed if you want Radwan in there, because he's been brilliant and continues to be. We'll talk about that later. But I actually think it's quite a good move. If you think you've genuinely got a generational talent on your hands, I think it's probably the right thing to do.
Get him in the environment, get him used to it, get him to see what that looks like, to be around all those other world-class players will only do him a world of good. So yes, I completely understand. Now I hear, Rory, from the woodwork that you've put together a little predicted selection based off of what that squad was. So why don't you run us through what you would be doing if you were Steve Borthwick up against Australia this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, so this is stress. This is what I would do. It's not what I think Steve Borthwick would do. The reports are that we're going to see Freeman at 13.
Yes, I've seen that. I've seen those reports.
Yeah. But had it been up to me, based on very little inside knowledge and not being the head coach of England, this is what I would do.
It's only a small
I think
caveat.
front row, huge caveat. I think one of the obvious ones, the front row sort of picks itself. Probably the front five.
Yeah.
To be honest, picks itself. So it's Genge, Cowan-Dickie, Stewart, Chesham, Itoje.
Yeah.
You could make the case for George over Cowan-Dickie if you want, but I think with this Australia team, you probably need Cowan-Dickie's physicality and carrying power. So I'd probably start him.
Oh, my front doorbell. Bear with, caller. Just some fresh pasta. Just need to get it in the fridge, listener.
David just taking delivery of pasta because, like all grounded and relatable people, he's having pasta delivered to the door now. Just going to put it in the refrigerator because it's fresh pasta, not the dried brand. That is fresh. Just talking about how relatable you are, David. Getting fresh pasta delivered to the door.
I will add the caveat that it is not my subscription package. It is a subscription package that I've asked the other half numerous times to cancel, but they keep sending us chocolate brownies, so I'm fine with that as well. So where were we?
So heading into the back row.
Yes.
So the options are quite open-ended here, I think. You have to balance the need to keep your line out competitive. Mm-hmm. Australia are pretty good at stealing line outs with more carrying power, where with the loss of Willis, obviously we're struggling a little bit there.
Yeah.
So the temptation was to start with Cunningham South at 6.
Okay.
But I'm going to start Pepper at 6.
Okay.
Underhill at 7, Ben Earl at 8. I think Guy Pepper's got enough height, has proved he's an effective enough line-out option to fill that.
His carrying game is actually better than he gets credit for as well, I think.
Yeah, I think he's a much better carrier than people are talking about. And I still have a question mark over Cunningham South's ability to do it for an extended period in a test match. Mm-hmm. I could be wrong, but part of me still wonders, is he still a 30-minute test player rather than a 60, 70, 80-minuter? And that's still a question mark for me.
I think that's fair.
So Underhill gets in for me. I mean, Curry's in the squad, and the rule of thumb is if Tom Curry's there, you pick Tom Curry. But the man hasn't played any minutes since the Lions, really, and at some point his body's got to start breaking down. It's not possible for a man to keep recovering from major injuries in record time.
Yeah.
And Sam Underhill's playing brilliantly well. So I'm going to give Tom Curry a week or two to rest up. And I'm going to start Sam Underhill so he can just level people. And to be honest, he's maybe the only man I trust to be able to stop Will Skelton in his tracks.
Him and a bulldozer.
Yeah. Those are the only two things. You either pick literal heavy machinery or you pick Sam Underhill.
Yeah. Those are the only two things that can stop Will Skelton.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me about your halfbacks.
I'm going to start Mitchell and Finn Smith. Really tempted to pick George Ford.
Good choice.
And with limited prep time, I could see Borthwick picking Ford because he's the steadiest option, I think, that you can sort of guarantee will perform at test level with limited prep. But I'm actually going to go with a Mitchell, Finn Smith, Dingwall axis.
Good choice.
Dingwall, I think, has been brilliant so far this season. From what I've seen, I've just signed a new Saints deal, which I'm sure you're very pleased about.
Very pleased about. Keep the good news coming, Northampton Saints, because I'm enjoying this steady stream of re-signing of very key and influential players.
Yeah, absolutely. And in the absence of a more powerful 12 option at the moment, had Seb Atkinson still been fit and been in there, maybe you could have been tempted after the summer. Ajomo's tempting because I'm going to put Lawrence at 13. It is tempting to have the Ajomo Lawrence centre pairing there, but first up against Australia, feels risky to throw Ajomo in with that. So I'm going with Dingwall because I think with no Furbank to play at fullback.
Apologies in my efforts to constantly come across as an everyman's person. I just had to pause my robot Hoover because it was getting dangerously close and noisy.
Yeah, what world do you live in? This is civil service salaries, ladies and gentlemen.
Other salaries are available.
Yeah, I think with the absence of Furbank at fullback, Stewart for me has to come in playing exceptionally well. But although his playmaking and link-up play has massively come on, he's really worked on it, and actually a lot of evidence of that at the weekend. I still think you're going to want someone in that backline who's a little bit more comfortable shifting the ball. The other option would have maybe been Lawrence to 12, Slade to 13. Again, Slade's been brilliant. We'll talk about that a bit later on. Yeah. But I think balancing all options, I want the Northampton connection 9, 10, 12. Because you also can then almost guarantee the ability to get the best out of Tommy Freeman, who I'm picking at 14, with Manny Feuerboso at 11.
Yep.
I think on the balance of probability, one that I think is almost certainly not going to happen is Guy Pepper at 6, where I think it's more likely to see Chesham or Coles there.
Yeah.
Maybe Cunningham South, but again, I'm not convinced that even Borthwick believes he's got enough fitness for that game to start.
Yeah, considering he's not been doing a full 80 of Harlequins, so they got injured a couple of weeks ago. Yeah,
exactly. So I think it's more likely to see Chesham or Coles there, but I would pick Pepper on the basis of how it's been going this season. And on the bench, Jamie George, Finn Baxter, Joe Hayes, Chandler Cunningham South, and Henry Pollock. I'm going to go for a 5-3.
Yeah.
So Spencer, Marcus, and Tom Roebuck.
Wow.
But I could see there being a 6-2. I could see, depending on the makeup of his starting back row, I could see a Coles or an Underhill being on the bench if he starts Curry and Cunningham South or Chesham at 6. Who knows?
Big headline.
There's a lot of ifs and buts, and we should be hearing quite soon about the squad. So
big headline to any Rory fans out there as well. He has decided to omit George Ford from his 23.
Yeah, it was a heavy decision. Really weighed on my mind, but I just think on the balance of everything, I think the club connection from Saints slightly outweighs the guaranteed quality you get from George Ford, just on the basis of trying to get the best out of every other player.
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, it's it could go either way, really. It's I think Ford could well start, and to be honest, I'd be quite happy with that.
He is the man in possession of the shirt after the Argentina tour.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Borthwick has been known to kind of honour that to a degree. Okay, no, I don't mind it, Rory. I don't mind it. I'm not going to argue with you. I'm a big fan of Pepper. I like the makeup of that back row. Any back row that's got Underhill in, I generally like the makeup of. And obviously, I like the Saints connection. So, yeah, I'm not going to argue with you too much. I haven't got my own version. But then again, we have got a lot to cover in this podcast, so probably for the best. Autumn Nations in general, Rory. Thoughts and feelings around the tournament? Are you excited for the next 4 weeks?
I'm very excited for England's fixtures in particular. I think Australia, Argentina, Fiji, New Zealand is a really good quartet of fixtures.
Yeah.
Would have been nice to have South Africa as a game as well, but all things being equal, I'm pretty happy with that. Ireland playing New Zealand in Chicago this week, I'm very excited by. I think that's going to be a real fever pitch of a game. I'm quite looking forward to watching that.
And I think it's going to be first of many tests going to be deployed out in the States to try and get them all excited for the World Cup coming their way.
Yeah, which you can see why they'd do that. Other big highlight games, France, South Africa next week. Mm-hmm. I think that's going to be an absolute humdinger.
Yeah. Very
much looking forward to that. Wales, I think, are possibly in for a tough time again. News today, Talupa Faletau is out of the autumn internationals. Okay. Ollie Cracknell getting called up, well deserved.
Well deserved, yeah.
Well deserved, but I think that's a real hammer blow to Wales' chances of picking up many wins given their fixtures.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, with England playing some of the big teams, the other real highlights for me, Ireland, South Africa, I think will be a good one. France, Australia could be another cracker as well, given how Australia's resurged. But
mm-hmm.
There's a couple of smaller.
What are Italy's fixtures like?
Italy have got South Africa in a couple of weeks. They've got Australia next week. So they will be targeting a big scalp this autumn. Some interesting selections in their squad.
Come on, Tadaro.
Tadaro, obviously, and
Enoch Apoku Gyamfi.
That's it. Who's still playing for the Bath University team at the moment, but he's a huge human.
From Milton Keynes Rugby Club, where I played my very first ever bit of rugby. So
and
we've trod a familiar path.
Share a lot of the same traits.
Yeah.
Yeah. Heavy, Italian.
Yeah. Athletic, talented.
Yeah. All that kind of good stuff.
Yeah.
But I think Italy will be targeting a scalp. Not sure they'll get one, but it'll be interesting to see how they go.
Mm.
Ireland will be looking for a resurgence, but they have got some real questions and marks on their squad as well at the moment, I think.
Yes, it'll be interesting to see how Ireland go. I have a feeling. Is it too early to say? Are we going to start to see the decline in Ireland?
Well, I think you write them off at your peril, but
it's going to happen at some point.
At some point, there has to be a decline, doesn't there?
Well, this world famous, world class Leinster production line. I'm not seeing the fruits of that
Well,
at the
it's
moment.
been a pretty sticky start to the season for them. And yeah, I mean, players like Sam Prendergast, have they really hit the heights that people were expecting?
No. There's your
I
answer.
just think, I do just think there seems to be a bit of a gap at the moment. And I think maybe that's coming back to bite them. They just haven't been able to find an actual conveyor belt. They found a very good generation, but there's not been a conveyor belt of talent coming through.
Are they just Wales, but like 6,
Are you
7
Wales
years
in
later?
disguise?
Are you Wales in disguise? Because they hung on to their golden generation for as long as they could, and we all know where they are now. Ireland have held on to this golden generation for quite a long time now, and there's a lot of players in their 30s. I'm not sure what's behind it in terms of quality being of the same level. I'm not saying it's right now, but let's just not ignore the inevitable.
You look at the age of some of their players. Bundy Eki's 37.
Mm.
Furlong's 32, 33 now. Ty Burns in his 30s.
Yeah.
Jack Conan's well into his 30s.
I'm just not sure.
James Gibson Park's well into his 30s. Hanson, I think, is 31 now.
James Lowe, he's 30s.
James Lowe, I think, has just turned 30, 29, 30.
Oh, so he may as well be retired.
I mean, pretty much dead.
Pretty much dead as a winger.
But I would be concerned that there hasn't been any real challenges to those starting players.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, Rory. It's going to make for an interesting autumn. Hard to call who comes out on top, other than it's probably going to be South Africa. But hey, I'm looking forward to watching it all. Do you know what's really annoying? I really wish there was like an autumn. I know there is like a Super Brew predictor there. I know there is like a fantasy, but in the old Six Nations app, there's the facility to run an Autumn Nations fantasy game, and it just says the game will be open soon. It starts in a few days. There's not enough time for us to set up a league, people. I know you love your fantasy rugby. We love going on there and competing with you, but it's just not giving us the facilities. How annoying. But I'll move on. I'll move on from my personal gripe with the Culture Nations Series app. Another competition returns this weekend, Rory. The PWR.
Yeah, the PWR roared back up this weekend. And some interesting results. An absolute humdinger between Harlequins women and Loughborough Lightning, 52-42. Got your money's worth if you went to that one.
Yeah, some high-scoring games.
Yeah. Holly Aitchison debuting for the Sale Sharks.
Getting a win.
Tigers to the sword.
Yeah.
Exeter beating Ealing Trailfinders. Not sure that was necessarily on the cards. And then on Sunday in the televised game, Gloucester Hartbury women beat Saracens women 40-14. And I saw this game, and Gloucester Hartbury looked, despite some of the turnover in players and coaches, etc., looked in rude health. Maud Muir in particular was
an absolute bowling ball. Just hand them the fourth title, I reckon.
They're going to be tough to stop on the evidence of this first weekend.
Yeah, considering Saracens are supposed to be probably the other team at the top, let's say.
It was a strong Sarries team. The likes of Sophie de Goody and Corrigan, people like that were in that team, and never really got close to them.
That one run by Maud Muir, who just absolutely flattened Packer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, poor old Buddy Packer's thinking, maybe it is time to hang up the boots.
Yeah, maybe. But very excited for the PWR to return. The first round of fixtures really set up, hopefully, a really fantastic competition. Really going to be keeping an eye on crowd numbers just to see if we're going to see a bit of a post-Red Roses success boom. Hopefully that positivity keeps coming. And we'll keep an eye on that competition and see how that fares as it rolls on, because we love the PWR here at Rucks Mauls Oval Balls, And
Certainly do.
if only we had the capacity to talk about that many games along with the Prem. Unfortunately, we don't have that capacity, so we've only got the time to delve deep into Prem rugby this week. And we're going to talk round 5, Rory.
Let's get into it,
Let's
David.
get right into it. And we're starting somewhere I really enjoy starting. And that's at Franklin's Gardens on a Friday night. Under the floodlights, Northampton Saints up against their old foe Saracens. And
Is anyone not your foe? Because it was your old foes Tigers the other week.
I'll get back to you on that one.
It's your old foes Bath, your old foes Bristol, your old foes Gloucester, your old foes Exeter, your old foes Quinns, your old foes Sale.
Red Bulls, but that's only because they're new.
No, because you were talking about how much they're your old foes because of your difficulties travelling there.
Yeah, they're all our old foes. And that's what comes with being a traditional club, steeped in history. Where do we start with this game, Rory?
Well, maybe you should give us a little summary of how this all played out, because this seesawed a little.
It did seesaw a little. So the game, it started off from a Northampton Saints fan perspective, a bajillion miles per hour. It was free-flowing. Yeah. It was fantastic. It was beautiful to watch. Northampton were putting Saracens to the sword with ease, running through them, cutting them like ribbons, and it was magnificent. Saracens looked like they were still in the changing rooms. They looked absolutely shell-shocked. They didn't know what to do.
I would say first 25, 30 minutes, Saints were unplayable.
They were. The only thing Saints could do differently would have been to put more points on the board. I think that was the only thing that perhaps they might be a little bit annoyed about from that first 30 minutes. Everything else was textbook. It was if you want to watch some free-flowing attacking rugby and shapes, just go watch Northampton's first 25, 30 minutes. It was brilliant.
Can I ask you a couple of questions about that 21st 30?
You can.
Was that the best Van der Mesch has played so far, or most effective he's been? And was that because of the style of team you were up against, do you think?
It was definitely his best game in the black, green and gold of Northampton, 100%. And I've perhaps it is a little bit of the opposition. I also think he is growing into this. There's been lots of stuff going on offline where his wife's been posting about how proud she is that he kind of lost himself when he was in France, and she's seen a different side to him. He's coming out of his shell. He's loving life in Northampton. Perhaps we're seeing someone who's genuinely enjoying his rugby again, and that usually gets the best out of these sorts of players. I think Northampton are figuring out how to use him effectively. And I think it's just lots of things all lining up, and it's just hopefully signs of things to come, because if Northampton can figure out how to use him effectively like they did in this game, that bodes very well for the rest of the season for Northampton.
I thought it was by some distance the most impressed I've been by him in the first. Well, I mean, really the whole hour he played, but certainly that first 30 minutes, he was by some distance his best.
Yeah,
I'll tell you someone who I'm a little less impressed by as a sign-in is Fischetti.
Scrum time is a worry.
At scrum time, yeah.
Scrum time is a worry.
Worked over by his compatriot Riccione.
Yeah.
He's quite a nimble prop, so he's quite useful in the loose still. But I thought he would be much more effective at scrum time. I thought he was going to be a genuine force there.
So I have a theory on this. I perhaps think, so we've got a new scrum coach who's come in to replace Sean Ferguson. We've also got Van der Mesch who's packing down at tight headlock. I wonder whether there's a bit of unbalancing at the moment going on, because there's going to be a lot of weight coming from behind Van der Mesch going through the tight head.
Yeah.
The other lock, in this game was Lockett, who is a bit of a lump himself, but is usually Coles. Perhaps my theory is that the scrum just isn't quite balanced in the sense of there's a lot of weight coming through the tight head, not so much the loose head, and maybe we're still figuring out how that works with a new scrum coach. But I quite right. Like the scrum time has not been as strong from Fischetti as I thought it would. I've still been happy with his work around the park. So his work rate's still right up there. His tackles per minute is still up there with the best. He gets turnovers, and he is good as a link-up player as well. But you're quite right to point out that we were expecting more from him at the set piece. Give him time. I think with a new scrum coach, we're still figuring out how to use Van der Mesch. Perhaps second half of the season, we might see the Saints scrum be a weapon again. That's my theory. That's my theory anyway. But you're right to point it out. Then after that point, after the first 30 minutes, Saracens. I think what we saw was Northampton absolutely had a perfect game plan to make sure Saracens didn't do to them that they'd done the previous week to Sale. Full credit, if anything, out of respect to Kalori, there was an immediate game plan to take him out of the game, which worked perfectly. He wasn't able to do anything. There's nothing against Kalori, as much as fans would make you think. I think Northampton had a brilliant plan for him. So Saracens reverted to Saracens of old. Physical, up front, punch you in the face.
Well, I'll tell you what I thought was the big turning point. When I think it was Burke scored their first tries in the offer line out.
Yeah.
And that was effectively the first line out that Theodan got right.
Yeah.
His darts up to that point had been abysmal, and to be honest, they didn't get much better after that.
No.
But he got this one right, and they set up the fake maul and then popped and went. Finn Smith misses the tackle on Nick Tompkins.
Yeah, uncharacteristically weak tackling.
Pretty uncharacteristic and pretty poor. But that gives the opportunity for Burke to then canter in. Up to that point, you'd kept Sarries pretty much out of the game, but partly because of Sarries' inability to hold on to a line out.
Yeah. And
then from there, they just sort of get a bit of a bounce. You know, Jack Bracken leaves Tommy Freeman for dead on a grubber kick off Burke.
Yeah.
Which is a really nice bit of skill. And you could just see the difference in acceleration over 3 to 5 meters.
Oh, he was rapid, isn't he? Absolutely rapid.
Tommy Freeman is obviously rapid, and which he showed for the break he made for was it Hendy's try? The first one, he breaks through 2 tackles down the right and just they spread it all the way left.
Yeah.
But off the mark, the Bracken boys are outrageous.
I'll be honest, I think both Charlie and Jack had good games for Saracens. I think they were probably the ones that stood out.
I thought Jack struggled a little bit with the kicking game. Saints kicked very well, and Jack struggled a bit with that. Tell you who really struggled, though, was Max Malins.
He's not had the return to Saracens that everyone was expecting, has he?
Looking out of sorts.
This isn't the only game. It's not the only game he's been found out.
No, it's not. It's not. He's been pretty average for a lot of the season. And I think they're crying out to get Elliot Daly back in that team, because at the moment, Malins is looking a bit of a liability back there. For Pearson's try, where he misses it entirely and Pearson dots down. Another player who's had a really good game. I think he'll be one that England will be interested in again. But he made several mistakes. I think it was Freeman's last try. He spilled it, and then Finn Smith crossfields to Tommy Freeman. But it comes off another Max Malins spill in the backfield. It's, he's given up, I reckon, 14 points in that game from mistakes.
Yeah, and that's just the obvious ones.
That's just the obvious ones. But if you call it 14 points, well, look at the scoreline. 43-31. Take 14 off Saints there, and So he's actually costing games, arguably. I don't like to dig out an individual that much, because I do like Max Malins as a player generally, but he looks out of sorts.
He does, and he doesn't look like the same Max Malins who left Saracens to join Bristol. I know he's had a lot of injury problems. Maybe it's just going to take him a bit longer to get back up to speed. But I would say, on Saracens selection, I want to encourage them to keep selecting these young backs. I know Malins doesn't really fit into that bracket, but I'm very much enjoying the Saracens selection policy at the moment.
No, I think Charlie Bracken, when the pack started going forwards after that first 30 minutes, and Charlie was able to take advantage of that, he looks really dangerous. Lots of little snipes, very quick off the base.
Yeah.
Jack Bracken, look, he's going to learn his trade off the kicking game. But we talked about the other week about his actual physical defence is very good. Master in the backfield is a slightly different prospect. It is not an area that you or I are any kind of experts in.
I think that's fair.
So I'm not going to dig him out for not being world class at that yet, but you could certainly see the potential. And Noah Kalori, look, sometimes young players will always need a bit of a reality check, particularly after such a barnstorming performance last week.
Yeah.
And a reality check that said, Saints marked you out the game on this one. You need to find a way to get into it.
Yeah.
And, he'll have probably come off that game. I think he came off with a bit of a knock in the end for Angus Hall, but, he'll have come off that game a bit more
battle hardened,
a bit more battle hardened, and a bit smarter than he was the week before. Where he'll now know, all right, if I want to actually go on, I need to find a way to.
You're not going to score 5 tries every week.
Yeah,
some of his defence. So he did some quite nice tackling on Tadaro.
He did. He got a jackal in there as well. Got a jackal penalty on him. He did get it wrong, I think, for. I think it was Hendy's try where he misread it and Finn Smith grubbered behind him.
Yeah.
But again, that's managing in the backfield. He did get a penalty off Tadaro for when he outjumped him by about 40 feet.
Yeah. Yeah, we did get to see one leap at Franklin's Gardens.
So yeah, I think he'll have to find a way to make sure he's in games week on week.
Yeah. So if you were Steve Borthwick, would you want to be harnessing that 30 minutes of England of Northampton for England? Because I don't see any other team playing with that sort of free flow attacking shape.
Well, this is why I went with the selection I did, which is very heavy on the Saints team, because I think in Test rugby, particularly over the last few years, the ability to strike off set piece moves and the ability to strike off turnovers are the two strongest things that Saints do. They're lethal on the transition, and they're lethal off a set piece move. They just pick good options. And I think realistically, you need to try and harness that. If you think you're going to be just in a kicking slogfest with lots of tight carries and just territorially kicking the ball, pick George Ford.
Yeah.
My gut feel against Australia is you're going to be playing off transition and you're going to be playing off set pieces when you get the opportunity. For me, that says Saints.
Yeah, I think so. One thing that small cause for concern as a Saints fan was once again our penalty count was very high. We're still dangerously lurking around that offside line far too often. But I think it's coming from the fact that teams realise that the only real way to beat Northampton is to keep it tight and just keep knocking down that door around the fringes.
Which you're not dealing with.
Which we're not dealing with.
Because Saracens, for that sort of, well, it was probably less than 20 minutes where they got really on top and took the lead back. Up until after Tizard's try.
And we got another yellow card.
And really, they just knocked the door down. Gonzalez's try just comes through. He powers through Van der Mesht and Henry Pollock for his try. Quite poor attempts from both of them, actually. Tizard's try just comes from pressure and just powering over in the tight. Jack Bracken's try comes from some really good carrying work and just drawing the defence in and giving the opportunity to kick in the backfield. It wasn't really until Saints then make a half break and Riccione gets himself binned for being offside.
That's what swung the momentum back, I'd say.
Yeah. Up until that, it was actually looking like you could have lost control of that game quite quickly.
So what you're saying is Riccione pointing to the stars over the badge on the Saracens shirt is what gave Northampton the impetus to go and whoop their asses.
Well, it's certainly G'd the crowd up. I don't mind it. I like it.
It's fine. It's fine.
I like that kind of stuff.
May as well have been pointing at some asterisks, but that's fine.
I'm not as worried about that as other teams are. I would also say Charlie Bracken drops an absolute dolly.
Yes.
To run it in at a point when he could have swung the momentum back the other way. That was a big moment for them.
That was a big moment, and that was to Jack Bracken, his brother, wasn't it?
It was.
That would have been a lovely
from
storyline.
Jack to Charlie.
Yeah, that could have been a lovely storyline.
A quick word from you on Tommy Freeman, David.
Tommy Freeman is the best winger in Europe. Fact. Tell me I'm wrong.
Peno.
I'm picking Freeman every day.
Over both of them?
Over both of them. The man is unreal.
I love him.
He's on red-hot form. I don't think there's a weakness to his game at this stage. Other than maybe in a 5-meter foot race with Jack Bracken.
It's a big call, but you have to say at the moment he is on red-hot form and he looks brilliant for it. So
he carried 150 meters. He made 7 line breaks. He beat God knows how many defenders. He looked like he was playing with a point in this game to say, I'm surrounded by all these youngsters, but don't forget who the best of the best is, and that's me. There's a reason I was on that line store, and he's only he's still young. He's still got 10 years in him if he wants to.
Because Pollock's in that team, people talk about Tommy Freeman as being like this old hand.
Yeah,
and he's 23, 24.
People forget how young that Saints team still is. Most of them are in their mid-20s. I love Tommy Freeman. I'm so glad we've locked him down long term on a new contract. I genuinely think he is the best winger in Europe, and I genuinely think he could be the best winger in the world. He's got it in him because he's got everything.
Right.
He's got everything.
I'd be right. Although reports are that he will be playing 13 this weekend.
So maybe I just have to decide he's going to be the best 13 in the world instead. Whatever it is, he's so good. I think he's turning into one of those players that you just put him on the pitch. It doesn't matter what number is in the back of his shirt. He will do bits, no matter where you play him. So I quite like him. I think that comes across.
Yeah, absolutely. So that game finished at Saints 43, Sarries 31.
Yeah,
and Saints' magnificent start to the season continues.
Hey, if you told me at the start of the season that we would take that first block of 5 games undefeated and top of the table, I'd have bit your hand off, Rory. Couldn't be happier.
Yeah. I think you're entitled to be the happiest boy on the podcast because we are now moving on to Chiefs against Gloucester.
Where we have one particularly unhappy boy on the podcast, I must say.
Such an unhappy boy. We'll get some of the headlines out of the way. Will Joseph and James Venter both going off injured again.
Was that a sign of them being rushed back, do you think? Because they both went off with knocks the week before.
I just think it's a sign of whatever curse has been put on Gloucester this season, just continuing. So... I said it last week that it's a complete catastrophe and the season's over for us. Trying to find any kind of silver linings. There's probably 2 from this game from a Gloucester perspective. Will Knight on debut, couple of nice touches, couple of nice tackles, but ultimately 18 years old, so limited what he can do. And Jack Cotgrave,
lovely break
with a lovely break. Probably should have got a try. Manny Feo-Bosa wrestles him manfully off the line, but that is what Manny Feo-Bosa can do.
Yeah. That's it.
So those are positives. Outside of that, it's just negative after negative, really. The defence is still abysmal. The Chiefs carved us open pretty much at will. Our Maul defence has gone to pot. We can't stop a Maul to save our lives.
Used to be your bread and butter, Used to be your bread and butter.
Yeah. Yeah. Right now, we just don't seem to know what we're doing. The scrum is a mixed bag. At points, it looks really strong, and then we just seem to switch off. We just look very, very low on confidence.
Yeah.
I think whatever else they do over this autumn, they just need to build up a bit of a bit of confidence, a bit of belief, and just see if they can get some togetherness going. Because at the moment, it looks like whatever vibes they had last season have just completely deserted them. And obviously injuries, turnover of squads, all that kind of stuff will have that kind of effect. But they put a big emphasis last season on making Gloucester a nice place to play.
Yeah.
A real squad ethos. A lot of the behind the scenes stuff was on the work that particularly Lewis Ludlow was doing to pull that team together. Maybe taking the captaincy off him wasn't the right move in the end.
I didn't want to pick at that thread, but it does.
Yeah, I mean, as good as Thomas is, maybe Lewis Ludlow as the kind of figurehead of that squad. You've been captain a really long time, so it on the surface it seemed like a good idea to kind of freshen things up, but it hasn't really had the desired effect. Lewis has then obviously been injured for a lot this season anyway. It's.
I also wonder whether the captaincy to Thomas hinders him a little bit as well, because he has to think a bit more. The way he plays is with a bit of freedom. If you've got the captaincy, you've got to be thinking a lot more inside the box rather than outside the box. I don't know whether that's something. Again, I might just be pulling at a thread that doesn't exist, but
I think that's maybe correlation rather than causation. I think it just happens to also coincide with the fact that we've been crap.
And to be fair, he's not really played a couple of weeks, so harsh to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, some nice moments for Freddie Thomas's try. There was some absolutely outrageous out of the circus handling that set that up, but yeah, we're just not able to do it for anything like 80 minutes. On the other side, we should just focus a little bit more on Chiefs. Are they back?
I think they are. Not only do I think they're back, I think they're back with a vengeance, and I think there seems to be something in the water down at Sandy Park that is. It's almost like they've forgotten about last season. They're basically what Gloucester need to do is to put all this negativity and bad press, and bad results, just forget about it. You need to find something that is worth building behind, and Exeter seem to have an ethos, a camaraderie. There's something going on there that is really starting to click. And I think the final pieces of the puzzle in Ikitau and Hooper have really, really made them a force to be considered now for top 4 potentially.
Yeah, I think.
And I tell you who it is bringing the best out in. It's bringing out the best in Henry Slade.
Henry Slade looks world class again for the first time in a couple of years, really. He looks absolutely world class. He seems to have shouldered responsibility without it seeming to be overwhelming like it was. He's still doing a lot of the kicking. He still does a lot of the defensive, leading the defensive line. He's very involved in the attack, but mentally he looks unburdened. It just looks like he's enjoying it. He's enjoying his season. I think, what I will say, Chiefs have probably had the easiest block.
A kind fixture list.
They got Saints at a very good moment.
Yeah.
They've had Newcastle at home, I think. Gloucester at home and Quins at home.
Yeah.
In fact, no, Newcastle might have been away, but they still won that, I think. So they have had a nice run into the season by dint of who they've played. Not to take anything away from them, because they've been, I think they've been good for the results they've had. But this was, if Rob Baxter had been designing his first 5 fixtures, he pretty much got it as he would have wanted.
Yeah.
Which bodes really well for them after the autumn, because they'll have momentum, they'll have belief, and they'll have these new signings, the Australians in. So great for them, but they've lucked out a little bit in terms of the fixture lists. Now that being said, good fixtures falling at the right time does nothing if you're playing badly. And the likes of Feo Aboso look back to their best. Fizzalau is coming on leaps and bounds. Kane James came on, nice break, set up the last try from big break. Ross Tuima looks like he's getting back to what we thought he could be. Daft Jenkins.
The packet as a whole just looks fitter.
They look fitter. They're getting more out of their front row. I think the focus on having just enormous scrummaging props. Scott CO and Yosefa Scott are probably predominantly scrummaging props, but compared to the likes of Aaron Painter, for example, they look a lot more mobile, a lot more involved. Stephen Varney is playing superbly.
Yeah.
He's playing like an international 9.
Yeah.
Which he is, but he wasn't necessarily Italy's star man. Well, the way he's playing at the moment, he could be. Harvey Skinner is twice the player he was last season, which is obviously helping. And Josh Hodge is sort of starting to look like he can fulfill that potential. So you just add all those elements up together, along with a number of other players we haven't mentioned. Suddenly you start thinking, well, actually, this is a squad that.
I can't believe you didn't say Zamboni.
Well, Zamboni obviously only played about 20 minutes in this.
I know, but you've taken any opportunity to say his name so far.
Well, look, I think Zamboni has been potentially one of the finds of the season, to be fair, because he is, for a sort of relatively unknown Italy under-20s lock, he has been impactful. I think he's been picked up in the Italy squad. If he hasn't, he should have been.
He has.
But yeah, his impact in that pack should not be diminished because he has been brilliant. In stark contrast to most of Gloucester's signings, I have to say, apart from probably Will Joseph. But no, I think Chiefs will be delighted with how that first block of games has gone for them.
Yeah, I think
absolutely delighted. They are now third in the table, so they're above Saracens, above Tigers, above Bristol, above Sale. 3 wins, a loss, and a draw. If you'd offer that to Rob Baxter at the start of the season, he'd have absolutely bitten your hand off, I reckon.
I reckon you're right. So they've got to be careful. They might start getting a nosebleed being so far up the table. It's been that long. They must be close to being near their point totals for the whole of last season already.
It's a very good question. I don't know that for certain, but that's probably about right, to be fair.
It's almost. I'm that intrigued. I want to look myself. Bear with, caller. We're doing some live
Googling.
This new Prem Rugby layout's weird. View full table. Gallagher Prem. Oh, can you not filter it by season anymore? Oh, you used to be able to filter it by season. That's upsetting. Bear with, caller.
Great podcasting, this.
This is great podcast. Great for the listener. This Prem Rugby table 2024-2025. Exeter got 29 points last season. In total, they are already on 19. So they just need 10 more points to match their total from last season. So that shows the change in fortunes already.
It's huge. It's a huge swing. It's a huge swing for them. So, I think Chiefs are hitting the right trajectory. So they will. I still think they probably won't make playoffs at the end of the season, but I could well eat my words based on current form.
They've got top 6 written over them.
Yeah, we'll see how they do when they get into playing the likes of Tigers, Sale, Saracens, Bristol in the next block. We'll see how they get on, but they look pretty good for it so far.
I'm willing to put my hat on them finishing above Gloucester.
Yep, at the moment, to be honest, the Gloucester Red Bulls game, whenever that is looking like a real crunch match for us. To be honest, whatever happens over autumn, the physio team needs to be working 24/7, and we just need to get some basics back.
Is that what Skivington needs to do over the autumn? Use the Prem Rugby Cup games to start afresh?
I think they need to focus on just some of the fundamentals. The line out is really poor. They need to fix that. They need to fix out their maul defence. They need to fix out their defensive system. And if that means less focus has to be put on the attack at the moment, I think they're just going to have to take that on the chin, because the fundamentals are what let them down.
Well, that game ended Exeter Chiefs 39, Gloucester 12. Painful visit to Sandy Park for the Gloucester faithful. Another great result for Exeter. Moving on, Harlequins versus the Newcastle Red Bulls. And we kind of said this last week. We expected a bit of a bounce from Harlequins, and boy, they did bounced. That's bad English.
It was the perfect opportunity for them to do a bit of jouet, wasn't it?
Keep the season ticket holders happy.
Yeah, but if we're being completely frank, particularly in that first half, Newcastle was still on the bus.
Yeah.
They were decidedly poor.
You do think, has the bubble burst? Like heads are down. The magic isn't there.
Alan Dickens was quoted in the last day or so saying he thinks they've gone backwards. So, at the moment things are looking pretty dour in the northeast, which is going to be a problem, because if they want to keep getting those fans through the gates and build some momentum into the summer.
Is it a coincidence that the rumour of Billy Vunipola being signed is somehow leaked out into the press to try and, buoy the fans a little bit, just to give them a little
good news
something
stories
to look forward to?
There's some good news stories of what they need. I mean, if I was them, I would be doing everything I could to sign as many England internationals from the French leagues for next season, just to build some excitement up again. The likes of Billy Vunipola are good signings. Joe Marchant's been mooted, I think.
Yeah.
Probably, I would imagine the Willis brothers will remain out of the price range for quite some time. But Carl Sinclair, maybe. They
could even look at the Pro de Deux. Like, they got Alex Moon, Timana Harrison. Don't you touch Courtney Laws.
No, let him
retire in peace. Yes, he's having a lovely time in Brive.
Ben White was obviously mooted a little bit earlier, so I think they'll start announcing some big signings quite early. But I think it will be because they want to get some positive news out there, because the results are going the wrong way.
Yeah, they need to do something.
It took them till 75 minutes, 76 minutes to get over the line. Leather Barrel, which is still one of my favourite names in the league. Comes on and looks pretty good for the last 10-15, but ultimately two consolation scores for them.
Yes, quite. I'm just watching you squirm, trying to find some positives to say about Newcastle.
I'm desperate to find positives, because I do want them.
Even the banker Amanaki Mafi had a quiet game.
Quiet game, came off after 50 minutes.
Yeah.
Oscar Usher looked nice when he came on, made a nice break.
Came off Freddie Clark.
I'm really liking the look of how he's developing. But the positives are few and far between. If we're being completely frank, this was...
So I do have a positive for any Newcastle Red Bull fans who are listening. Your under-18s team are 2 from 2, and they beat the Harlequins under-18s in the Prem Next Gen League this weekend. The Harlequins Academy is a very, very strong one. So it makes you wonder, are we starting to see the fruit of the labours at the academy level already? Because last year, their academy was not up to much, and they've got 2 from 2 already. So,
if they've got a golden generation coming through at the academy level, then that's something for them to look forward to. But between now and then, times could be a bit late.
yeah. I think the point I was going to make is it'll be interesting when we get to the end of the season how much of that squad gets trimmed.
Well, on the evidence of the first 5 games, not too many of them are playing their way into staying within the Red Bulls project.
Yeah. I just hope that they do hold on to players like Oscar Usher, who I do think is generally worth investing a bit of time. And he looks handy.
Look, I mean, there's the old saying, "Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater." Maybe at this point you could throw the baby out, but what I would caution is look at what's happened with Gloucester with the amount of turnover they've had to deal with. It's not an instant fix bringing in a large. No matter how good you think the players that are coming in are, there are intangibles and immeasurables in rugby that big turnovers of squads tend to expose. And so bringing in an all-star team over the summer is not going to be a quick fix to get Newcastle up the leagues.
No, but it would do a good job for their season ticket sales, I'm sure.
It would.
Is there anything on the Harlequin side that you want to touch on?
Look, I mean, to be fair, this was... I don't want to disparage Quincy because they played well, but they were playing a bit of a training game at times, if we're being completely brutally honest. I thought Marcus looked really good, but again, this is the sort of game where Marcus will look good. You know, and he's very good at taking advantage of the situations, right? You know, if you were being cynical, you could call it stat padding, because it was just their pack was just getting go forward pretty much the whole game. And for someone like Marcus, that is just catnip. Tyrone Green scoring on his 100th cap for Quins, I thought was a nice moment for him. Looked good, as he always does. Now England qualified, so interesting whether they decide to take advantage of that option or not. Cassius Cleves goes over back in the mix again after nasty injuries. Look, we could spend more time talking about the individual Quinn scores, but the ultimate result of this was Quins were just so much better on the day. The only one probably to focus on is Isgro's little volley to finish in the corner. Lovely little touch. Lovely to see a bit of Argentinian flair, and a nice opportunity for the commentators to talk about Messi and Maradona. But yeah, no, that was a lovely moment. And Zach Carr at 8, I thought looked pretty
I think he's an example where there's been a lot of talking him up since the pre-season about him pulling up trees and really performing, but hasn't really translated much on the pitch up until now. But, you know, again, he looked good. You do have to remember the opposition in the back of your mind, but you have to remember the Red Bulls did beat Quins in the first round of the Prem Rugby Cup. And it was quite a strong Quins outfit, would have had Zach Carr in it. So, you know, there is a bit of a turnaround there for Harlequins at least. Yeah,
look, I think you can only beat who's in front of you, and Quins beat who's in front of them pretty comfortably, if we're being frank. But
that's a cancer, really, if we're honest.
Lots of questions for Alan Dickens up in the northeast, and Quins will just be pleased to have got a win on the board before the break after last week's horror show at Sandy Park. So
absolutely.
Finished Quins 52, Newcastle 14, and to be honest, it didn't even look that close.
No, if anything, could have been a bit bigger. Next game.
Tell you a game that looked closer than it ended up being.
Thanks to 15 minutes of an additional time. Bath versus Bristol, another derby in the West Country.
Another one.
And this scoreline. So the scoreline was 40-15 to Bath. And I really think it gives the game a real disservice having that scoreline, because it was a lot closer than you'd have thought.
I think if you could remove a bit of pernickety refereeing around pushing and shoving, then this game might look a little differently at the end.
Talk about stat padding. Gave Henry Arundel a lovely 80-minute run.
Well, given that up to that point he had effectively been anonymous.
And then all of a sudden he's now got 130 metres carried and a try into his name.
Yeah,
in the 96th minute.
From a fantasy rugby point of view, excellent for me. But from Bristol's point of view, they will feel a bit aggrieved that on 92 minutes they were still having to deal with Arundel. They could have kicked it out. They weren't going to get anything out of the game. They were still playing.
No, it felt personal at that point almost. They were,
and this was a bitey kind of game.
Feisty.
Yeah, I thought Bristol came in with a point to prove. Genge talking about his thoughts on Bath being a working class boy from Bristol, which is, it's nice. It's a nice narrative for them to, I think the likes of Bristol and Gloucester, need to play up that kind of thing when they're playing Bath, because we can't compete with, Bristol can compete with the funding, Gloucester can't, but you can't compete with Bath as a setting. It is, it's the Limehouse home of Middle England.
Careful, Rory, we're going to be there in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, looking forward to it. But Bath is a posh town. There's no, there's
no ways about it.
There's no two ways about it. It's a posh town, and I suspect for fans from other nations, when they imagine England rugby fans, they imagine Bath fans.
Yeah,
which is fine. That is.
There's nothing wrong with Bath fans.
There's nothing wrong with Bath fans apart from who they support and where they're from. But I think so. I think building up those kind of narratives are really good, and I'm glad that Genge did it. And Bristol came with an attitude, and they put Bath under real pressure. Finn Russell had probably his worst game for Bath that I've seen.
Yeah,
charged down a couple of times and put under pressure quite a bit. Made quite a few mistakes. They made mistakes up front. They were really pressured into forcing the play at times, which is not really the Bath way.
No.
But once again, having a pack as big as that just is a cheat code at this level.
Yeah, they do. They are able to just grunt their way out of problems. Which is annoying because they do that and then they just roll the bench out and step it up a gear.
Yeah,
and it's all very unfair. I'd rather talk more about how good Bears were, considering the context of their season so far. I think they are overperforming against expectations.
Massively overperforming where they should be given their injury problems. Their defence was so good, quite an un-Bristol performance. To be honest, they didn't jouer. They came there with an aggressive physical approach early on that looked like it was paying dividends. I'd say probably for the first 30 minutes or so, 35 minutes, where I think they just about clung on to a lead. But then Bath just sort of started to be able to pile pressure onto them. But Bristol came with a real approach of we're just going to harass and we're going to press and we're going to blitz. And I think Bath were a bit shell shocked to start with about that. Fitzhardin just continues to impress week on week. He's so busy.
Work rate's through the roof.
Phenomenal. I mean, there was one bit, it might have been for Thockin Singer's try, but it starts with a scrum on the other side of the field, and he beats everyone to cover over that side. If it might not have been might have just been an opportunity, but he was outworking the whole back line, and both packs to get there, and it's that kind of graft is what gets you through patches like this where you are struggling for numbers.
He's a name that I'm surprised. I'm not saying he should be in the England squad, but I'm surprised he's never really mentioned in kind of the forums or by commentators saying, "Oh, Fitzharding, England qualified. Why not?"
Well, it goes back to the conversation we had last week about the likes of Callum Chick, where he is a grafter. He does nothing wrong. He is 7 out of 10 every week. You could maybe argue his handling is a bit of a point of difference, but is it that much better than the other England flanker options? He's not the biggest player. He's not the tallest player. He's not the most physical. He's just relentless. And that at a club level, at Prem level, is gold dust. You need those kind of players. He's just probably not got the stardust to be a point of difference at international, which is it's a harsh review of what is a very, very good player, but unfortunately he just doesn't have that point of difference to make that next step. But then that being said, I think if you're a Bristol fan, you are more than entitled to shout about him and say he should be getting picked for England because he's that good for them.
Him and Ogray for me have been two real standouts for Bristol.
Yeah, Olgray's probably, I think, unlucky not to be in that England squad. I think he's playing better than Theo Dan.
Yeah.
And I think his all-round nuts and bolts are better than Theo Dan. He's a jackal threat. His handling and his pace around the park make him a massive threat in the loose. The only thing he doesn't have is the same level of power. But his darts are better. His, I think his mauling's better. I think his control on the maul's better. I would have had him above Theo Dan at the moment, given the way they both are playing.
Yeah, I agree.
But I'd also had Blamire above Dan. I would.
Basically, what you're saying is you hate Theo Dan.
I just don't think he's having a very good season, to be honest, at the moment. And I think to be honest, he's a hooker whose line-out darts are failing him.
Yeah, very true. Very, 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 very true.
And there's a lot of very good England hookers around. Jabulu.
Yeah, we have a few.
Tom Dunn. Tuipulotu even.
Yeah, we do have a few.
Ogray. Obviously Langdon's injured, but Jack Walker would argue it. Seb Blake would argue it. There's a lot of England hookers in this league, and I don't think Theo Dan's in the top 3 at the moment.
There we go. But before we get distracted and talk about Saracens again, should we talk a bit about Guy Pepper and Sam Underhill?
Oh, I mean, honestly, they are freaks of nature, both of them.
In the nicest possible way.
No, in a horrible way that's disparaging and disingenuous. No, of course, in the nicest possible way. They're absolute freaks. Guy Pepper. Joe Van Grant last season said that Guy Pepper had the potential to be Richie McCaw. And at the time, everyone went, all right, mate.
Good one.
Okay. I mean, I remember Richie McCaw. He was brilliant. And look, that might still be a slightly high aim for anyone ever. But you can see what he means at the moment because he's a very similar shape. He's a big lad. His technique is pretty much perfect in everything he does. His carrying is powerful and he carries in a way that makes the most of his size. His jackling is phenomenal. His tackling is pretty much textbook. He's maybe not as physical a tackler as Underhill, but who is? He just seems to be a player that he does pretty much everything right all of the time.
Yeah.
And add on top of that, he's super mobile. He's got really good hands. You start to think, it'd be a hard player to leave out of any team, wouldn't he? Just someone who's that good at everything they do.
Yeah.
And then Sam Underhill. Where do you start with this guy? His power is
second to only a bulldozer. We've covered this already, Rory.
Well, absolutely. I mean, but it's insane. It's an insane level of power, and he just levels with. And for his try, there was so many players around him. He still just thumps his way through. I don't know. I can't think of another England flanker that delivered that much punch. Maybe Neil Back. Maybe, but even then,
I really wish that rugby did like the NFL style draft day, and there was like some sort of pound for pound strength test, because I wouldn't put it past Underhill being top, like pound for pound strength wise, being at the top of everyone in the league.
I'd love to see a combine.
Imagine a Prem rugby combine. It would be incredible.
I'd love to see a combine. That'd be great. Just an absolute freakish athlete. Who I mean, obviously he's had injury issues,
Mm.
but for me, he sort of fits in that Tom Curry bracket of if he's available, you pick him.
Yeah, more like who would you pick? You could only pick 1-7, both fit, both firing. Tom Curry, Sam Underhill.
Just Tom Curry, but I mean, it's width of a fag paper between them, and that's only on the basis of the added experience Tom Curry's had from being more available down the years.
Not much in it then.
There's talent-wise, there's next to nothing in it for me.
Yeah.
Maybe Tom Curry's a little bit better with the ball in his hands.
Yeah.
But Sam Underhill's better is a more powerful tackler.
He is.
But they're still both really good with the ball in their hands and both really good tacklers. It's just that's maybe the slight difference between the two, but it's not much.
Not much at all. Basically, it's a perfect world that we'd love to live in. Ollie Lawrence, back to his best?
Yeah. I mean, just looks like he is absolutely loving being on the pitch. That's one thing, in this game he was responsible for one or two of the dust-ups because he was just being a bit of a shithouse, and I love it.
Yeah.
The little, just very subtly drop the ball on Ellis Ald's head to start a scuffle after he scored his try.
Yeah.
He's massively benefiting, obviously, from having Finn Russell inside him and having a pack that's always going forward, but any back would. What he then has on top of that is he's so effective at using his athletic abilities because he's quick, because he's powerful. Games could just come easy to him, but he seems to be constantly looking to be involved, and he wants to impart an impact on the game, which just comes from a player that's massively confident and massively enjoying themselves. And given the injury he had at the start of the year, he could be forgiven for being a bit within himself.
Yeah.
And he's just not. And that, from a mentality point of view, that is just, I think that's so impressive.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, they think that Freeman's going to start at 13. I don't hate it as a call, but it wouldn't be what I'd do, as we've spoken about. But for me, if he's playing in this form, he has to start for England because he's just a rare combination of athletic ability and skill that you just have to find a way to get on the pitch.
Yeah. I completely agree.
Similar to how we thought about Tuilagi back in the day.
Yeah.
Just one of those kind of athletes that you go, well, you just have to find a way to have him on there because how could you not get the most out of that player?
Yeah, that mashup of physical presence with technical ability. Very rarely it comes across, and is a possibility for you to select for your country. I love Tommy Freeman. I love Tommy Freeman in a 13 shirt, but I'd have Ollie Lawrence in 13 as well, personally. I think he's a great player. But this game itself ended 40-15, despite Bristol Bears putting up one hell of a fight with their depleted squad. But ultimately, Bath used all that extra time, ran the score up a little bit, and got a couple of last 12-minute tries. Gutting for Bears, but another bonus point win for Bath, who will be ruining not being top of the table. But we move on. Leicester Tigers versus Sale Sharks Rory. And we earmarked this one last week as potentially being game of the round. This was a good game.
That's all I could think of when watching this. We talked last week about Tigers Bath being like the level of intensity of a test match. Yeah. This had a very similar feel to it. Tigers really, really impressive. James O'Connor seems to have unlocked something in that Tigers team that we weren't convinced was there.
Yeah.
But they seem to be really playing with their tails up at the moment. Two of the unluckiest players in England, Hassel-Collins and Radwan, who, Tigers fans, I will admit it, they are incredibly unlucky to not be considered in this England squad, both of them.
Yeah.
Both superb, both playing maybe the best rugby of either of their careers at the moment. Jamie Blamire coming on leaps and bounds from where we knew he was at Newcastle. He's now becoming a pretty much undeniable force, a hooker again. Another one I think Steve Borthwick will be very closely keeping an eye on. In Nicky Smith and Joe Hayes, they've got two of the most reliable props in the league.
I think they're both in form as well.
They're both in form, and their scrummaging is powerful.
Yeah.
Ollie Chesham is just embracing the challenge of being the captain of that team so well. I mean, he's everywhere, and his all-round skill set is phenomenal. And then you've got the likes of Cam Henderson, Tommy Raffel, and Ollie Cracknell, who are maybe the less glamorous names in that league, in that squad, but just performing at consistently high levels. And Hammer Liebenberg, who just never drops his performance. As a pack, I think at times they're unsubtle. I think at times they don't do the nice little bits around the edges that would make them more effective. But then all of a sudden they do it. They go, and within a flash, they under either one of the forwards, or they just create enough space for the likes of a Radwan or a Hassel-Collins to finish, which is exactly what happened from a lot of these tries.
Yeah,
it was boring, 1 out, 1 out, 1 out.
Something we're critical of them about last year, which is oddly becoming a strength.
Yeah, but what they're doing now at the moment, what they seem to be doing at the moment is, I think they accept they play 1 out boring rugby a lot of the time, and then they find the right moment to do the subtlety, and they do it so well that they create such chaos in the defences.
Yeah.
And then they're very good at finding the players to finish them off. Radwan got 2 in this game, both of which come off really good hands from Freddie Stewart in particular, but also James O'Connor. But they all come from lots of phase play, not even necessarily going forward very much until they do, and then they shorten up the defensive line, and then they just go, get it to Radwan. Get it there as quickly as possible, and they do. They're really good hands, and he finishes off the opportunity. The second one in particular that he scored against the Grain, similar to a try Tommy Roebuck scored earlier this season against Newcastle, actually. Just a great identifier of, we've got him, let's go.
Yeah.
And I think as a team, you pair that pack with the power they've got in the centres with Kata and Parise, Woodward as well when he's in there, the finishing ability of the wingers, solidity of Freddie Stewart at fullback, and that kind of stardust of James O'Connor just in the middle of it all. You start to think, well, why can't they challenge actually for the title? Actually, all the elements are there now. So if I was a Tigers fan, I'd be pretty excited about this squad in this season, actually.
Well, you spoke there about unsubtlety. How about the centre partnership we've not seen so far this season in Kata and Parise, who was there last year, but I think they showed on paper, why that is a very, very unsubtle and powerful centre partnership.
Well, look, they're both kind of red card merchants. There's no two ways about that.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
When they are on song and they don't make those kind of silly mistakes, I mean, geez, they're effective. I mean, because they're not necessarily the tallest centres in the world. I think they probably hover around the 6 foot range.
Yeah,
maybe even less. But they are balls of muscle. They carry with real venom. I mean, I would hate to have to get in the way of either of them, particularly Kata, but really either of them would be horrible. Parise, I think he's got an NRL background, doesn't he?
I believe so. Yes.
And you can see that in the way he goes into contact. And you say they're not the subtlest centres in the world, but if you use them effectively, I mean, it makes it very difficult for a defence to get on the front foot, because on top of having to worry about what's Cracknell doing, what's Chesham doing, what's Blamire doing, what's Nicky Smith doing, what's Ilioni doing, they then go, we'll spin it wide, and there's only Kata and Parise doing it. So, I say you're right to point out they're not subtle, but used effectively, players like that are just cheat codes.
Yeah, and it was definitely not meant in any way a slight on their game. It's just the fact that you know what you get with them, and they're very, very good at it. Speaking of players that you know what you get with them, George Ford, the man you dropped from your 23.
Well, I think the noise is he is actually going to start for England this week, and I'm absolutely. To be honest, I will say though, I don't actually mind what fly half they pick. I think any of the three is a good choice. Mm-hmm. But George Ford, his pass selection is ridiculous. I'm starting to feel like he's got like looper technology or something, and he just goes back and just replays it until he picks the right pass, because he doesn't make the wrong choice ever. I mean, for all of Luke James's tries, I think he's on the line, and Sale are slightly similar to Leicester. They do it slightly differently. Leicester do a lot of one out off the base of the ruck. Sale do a lot of pick and goes around the base. But they're both designed with the same
drawing the defenders, make space,
drawing all the defenders. And with Sale, they do that 3, 4, 5 times. You draw in the defence, and then all you've got to do is give it to Ford, because you know he's going to find the space. There will be space. There's always space when you do that effectively with a pack as powerful as that. And then you just give it to him, and he just goes, "Yep, option C," and it's correct. It's the right one. It's always the right one. Whatever happens, he picks the right choice. It's just not. It's not normal to be that right all the time, but it is. It's so effective for them, because it almost doesn't matter who's outside him. They got some very good backs outside George Ford. They don't need to be.
Yeah. So what you're saying is you or I could be at the end of his passes, and we'll still pick up a couple of tries.
Honestly, a couple of those Luke James tries, just on the proviso that we were fit enough to get there in the first place, which is obviously
big proviso.
A big if. But you just need to sort of be there, because he just puts you in the holes. Outside of that, nicely Rafi Quirk, obviously back in the England squad, looking like he got a bit of joie de vivre again. Quite busy when he came on.
He is looking good, but I'm holding back my optimism on Rafi Quirk, because I have been burnt by getting excited by his return a couple of times, and he's either got injured or he's just had a horrific loss of form.
Yeah.
I'm going to hope that it continues in this vein, because I do think on paper and potentially he is a very, very, very good 9. Just haven't seen it for a little while now. Hopefully it's still there.
I think he's still got the highest ceiling of all the 9s in England, but injuries and form have just not helped him get there. But I remain optimistic, and on the basis of this weekend, he's at least on the right trajectory again.
Huzzah!
Outside of that, I mean, look.
What do you make of Asher Opoku-Fajor not being deemed qualified enough to create a contestable scrum one week, and then to play a full 80 minutes in that exact same position the following week up against Joe Hayes, an international tight head?
Well, it's farcical because it was paperwork. It's not. I don't think it's that they wanted to go to uncontested scrums last week, just they didn't fill out the paperwork properly.
Is it right that paperwork dictates some blatantly obvious errors?
You would like to think common sense would take hold, but
it didn't.
Maybe that's asking too much in rugby. I think it's farcical, but it's a minor point behind the very important point of Asher Perka has in the last 2 weeks played tight head and loose head against top quality props and been good both times. And what we were hoping to see from Asher Perka is really starting to come through from a scrummaging point of view. We know how good he is in the loose. Can he scrum both sides and hold his end up? Yeah.
Yeah, he can.
So
he certainly can. Yeah,
it's a weapon to have, isn't it?
To be able to do that from both sides, there's not many props that can do that. You and I both know it's very different propping on each side of the scrum. It does take a very different
they're different skill sets.
Muscles, different skill set, yeah. So the fact he's got both of those only bodes well for him going forwards.
Absolutely. I do want to talk about one moment, David, that I think we'll have both enjoyed watching.
Yeah.
I think you already know what I'm going to talk about.
Mika Ilioni.
Someone described it as running in like Sam Burgess, and I could see what they mean.
Yeah.
Just venom and hate, and I looked at that and I thought that looked like a man who
has just been told he's not in the Automation squad.
Well, I thought they assumed that was because he was carrying a knock. I mean, it didn't look like he was carrying a knock then.
Exactly.
Unless he got a knock from doing it, and that's when they changed their minds. But look, very few players actually properly accelerate into those contacts when they're running from that kind of distance, because you just, you're cruising for a bruising. But he did it, and my God, that is laying down a marker of what you're about. That is properly.
He's putting his hand up
and going, "This is what I'm about."
And I like it.
I like it a lot.
I like it a lot,
and I'm hoping to see a lot more of it.
Me too. Hopefully, we'll see him maybe in an England Day shirt at the Rec in 2 weeks' time. That'd be nice.
I would be amazed if he wasn't in the mix.
Well, we'll be in the terraces, Rory. We'll be near the entrance for the players. We can try and see if he'll give us a little look, and we'll say, "Good work, Amika. We're here for you." Amika. We're Rucks, Mauls Oval Balls.
We love you.
We love you. Yeah, don't know what else to say after that. But yeah, I can't wait. Can't wait to watch him in the flesh in an English shirt. But yeah, the game ended 36-35 to Tigers. Another nail biter at Welford Road to all those empty seats. No, that was mean of me. I apologise, Leicester fans.
But you were right. I did think watching it, I was like, are they struggling for crowds?
They all season, even the game against Bath, like they've empty seats, surprising me. But hey, let's be optimistic because we need bums on seats. But yeah, that's round 5. It's time for our quickfire teams of the week, Rory. Now, I will hold my hands up. I hadn't prepared one before this podcast. I have prepared one in the background that I have lost a lot of confidence in as we've spoken through these games. How would you like to play this? Would you like to go through position, or just read off the teams?
Let's go position by position. It wasn't easy this week, actually, I have to say. I found last week's easier to pull together. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of 50-50 calls, and there were actually some positions where there weren't a lot of standouts.
Yeah,
but
often the case.
I think I've pulled together a decent team. Loose head, I've got Beno Urbano.
Okay, I've written Nicky Smith.
Yeah, I nearly went Nicky Smith again. I did Nicky Smith last week, and I thought he was very good. I just think Beno Urbano, just in those tight carries, was a big factor in Bath overcoming what Bristol were about at the weekend. He was really part of that.
I think that's fine. I think what we've done there is we've named 2 of the best loose heads in the league at the moment. So we've covered all bases. Hooker.
Jamie Blamire.
So I've gone Gabriel Ogre.
Yeah.
Purely from work rate, just what he does around the park.
I thought about Ogre, and then I thought, can my team of the week really include the hooker who lost 40 points to 15? And I thought, he was really good, actually. Mm-hmm. But then I also thought, so was Jamie Blamire.
Yeah.
So on the basis that Blamire won.
I nearly went Cowan Dickey as well.
Yeah, it also had a very good game. But I think One of the things that I thought was really impressive from Bromaya this week was some of his handling, actually. Peeling off the back of Mauls and linking up a little bit of play. I thought I was looking at going.
He showed he's got that almost like fourth back row quality to him, doesn't he? Yeah.
Some added skills there.
Yeah. Tight head.
Thomas the Tank.
Thomas the Toy. I'm glad we got one exactly the same. Yeah, he on his day, best tight head in the world. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy.
Yeah.
Second row, Rory.
I'm going to say both because I'm not convinced I got them in the right shirt numbers, but I've decided these two were the standouts. Ollie Chesham and Van der Mesht for me.
Okay, so I've got, and this may be stats dictating more so than my brain here, and perhaps may reflect my rushed nature of my team. I've got Ross Maloney and Van der Mesht.
Maloney was good. The only other name I had in mind was Petty, who I thought had a good game for Quins.
Yeah.
But for me, Ollie Chesham's, it's a lot of his work on the ball in particular. I'm really, really impressed by. He's got a very good skill set for a big man.
I'm fine. If we were doing a joint one, I would seed Maloney for Chesham, but as they're separate. Well done.
Fine.
Well done. You win that one, I guess. Back row. I also had Van der Mesht, by the way. Obviously.
Yeah, I knew you would.
Yeah.
Back row, I've gone for, and I'm not convinced I've got this right, but this is what I'm going for. I've gone Liebenberg, Pearson, and Fizzalau.
So I've gone Kenningham, Underhill, Pollock.
Okay, interesting. Very different. Well, I'll give you my reasoning. I mean, Liebenberg, he's just a solid player every week. But there was one particular moment when he put in, I think it was Cam Henderson for his try, and it was just his hands at the line and his ability to pull out those moments of subtlety that we were talking about at the right time for Tigers.
Yeah,
that he was one of the ones who broke the game for Tigers more often than the player with the number on his back should. And he's just such a good player. I mean, I just like Liebenberg as a player. He's graft.
He's solid, and as you said earlier, like sometimes you just need like consistent 7 out of 10 players. I think he's like a consistent 7.5 out of 10 player every week.
Yeah, he fluctuates between 7.5 and 9.
Yeah, he is quality. Yeah. And I'm a
Tom Pearson I've picked partly because he's just how good he seems. But I know he got a bin, but it was a team bin really, just on the number of penalties given away. Keeps scoring tries. He's constantly in the mix for it. I have been so impressed by his form this season. I think a player of his size and mobility and carrying is just gold dust.
Yeah, he needs to get back in that England camp. He needs to get back in the England camp. Hard position to get into.
If he keeps getting starts for Saints, and it's competitive in the Saints back row, but it would be difficult to deny him because he's that good. Fizzalau at 8. I didn't pick him last week on a bit of a coin flip. Really good start to the season from him. Seems to have bulked out a bit, but also without losing any kind of mobility. Just a handful because he's so quick. He's so quick off the mark, and with his power, if the defense is at all on its heels, he picks and goes with such ferocity. Just always makes yards. If he gets the ball in the wider channels, you've got to be on your mettle because he'll get away from you. He's that quick. I mean, he's another one who's in that, I guess, sort of a similar to like a Ben Earl kind of mold where he's not the tallest player in the world, but he's so quick and so powerful. His ability to cover ground is just so impressive.
Yeah. I only went Pollock because obviously he plays for Saints, and he's bleached his hair blonde in honour to friend of the show Archie McParland. I can only assume. So had to represent.
Absolutely, and Archie, we still think you should go back to blonde.
Yeah, absolutely. We stand by that. Scrum half.
Slightly tougher one. Not actually loads of really impressive scrum performances, but I've gone with Stephen Varney again, same as last week. His return to the Prem has been really impressive. He's on excellent form. I think Kieran Marmion would have been one of the other ones worth talking about. He had a really good game. Actually, probably outplayed Ben Spencer for a lot of that game. But no, I've gone with Varney because almost on the basis of how consistent his performance levels have been in the last few weeks. Really impressed by him.
Well, I've gone Alex Mitchell because when you're a scrum half to a side that flows with that much attacking flair against a Saracens team that defends the way it does, you're doing something right. And he's
100%.
He's wearing the right shirt as well. 10.
Well, this will please you. I've gone Finn Smith.
Good choice.
At 10. Again, just ahead of George Ford. Probably edges it because he won. George Ford didn't. Had Sale won the game, probably Ford could have edged it just with his ability to put people even tries. But Finn Smith, I think, has come back with a real aplomb since the Lions tour. Just a lot of try involvements, and you can't ask for much more from a fly half.
No, I've also gone Finn Smith, obviously. 8, 9, 10 from Saints. Yes, please. Centre partnership, Rory, 12 and 13.
I've gone Catter and Slade.
Okay, so I've gone Ikitau and Slade.
Yeah, Ikitau was my second choice, 12. Really good. Really sort of starting to take the Prem, making a couple of good, decent breaks. Nearly set up a try, but there's a full pass in there. And looks like he's just going to be a handful while he's in the Prem. And every team's going to have to be on the watch out for what he's doing.
Yeah.
But I thought Solomon Akata this week, in concert with Parise, was phenomenal.
Yeah. I think, my honourable mentions would be Catter and Lawrence.
Yeah, Lawrence and Parise were my honourable mentions at 13. But Slade may have been player of the week in general this week.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Just really back to his silky best.
Your 2 wingers, Rory.
Yeah, so again, same as last week. I'm trying to play this as close as I can down the line. So I'm trying to pick the players with the numbers they had on their backs. Left wing, I've gone Hassel Collins. Right wing, I've gone Tommy Freeman. With a big shout out for Thokana Singer, who I thought was really good for Bath. And Iskro, who was really good for Quins. And on the left wing, for once, I'm not going to give Arundel the shout out because until the intercept, I'm not sure he was that effective this week. O'Flaherty, though, was very good for Sale. Ravuvu was pretty good for Bristol. But Ollie Hassel Collins, I thought, was excellent. Just didn't get a try this week, but really effective with the high ball. Really effective getting the ball up the pitch.
Manny Feo-Aboso is my left wing.
Yeah, he played right wing though, didn't he?
Yeah, but I'm not doing your silly shit on back rule. Crazy talk. When you picked 2 number 5s in your second row, Jesus, Rory. Then your fullback.
I've gone Tyrone Green.
I've also gone Tyrone Green. 100th cap. Nice try.
100th cap. Played really well. I thought Santi Carreras was very good for Bath, as much as it pains me to say it. And Luke James got a hat-trick.
Yeah, it's not often you overlook a hat-trick.
That's worth mentioning. But Tyrone Green just continues to be so effective. Just week on week, we say about wins when they're performing well or not. Tyrone Green is usually good.
He is. Those are our teams of the week, people. Let us know what you think. Now, Roy, before we bring the podcast to a close, we need to do some predictions for the weekend ahead. Let's do it on the Autumn Nations fixtures. Let's just get those bad boys up. Autumn Nations fixtures. Okay, week 1, 4 games I'm going to ask you about. Quickfire predictions. England versus Australia at Twickenham/Allianz Stadium. Your predictions, please.
High scoring game, England by 5, but it could be something like a 35-30, something like that. I think it's going to be a humdinger.
In my head, before you said anything.
A humdinger this week.
In my head.
To come out on top this week.
In my head, before you said anything, I was thinking 35-31 to England. Let's get money on it. Okay, Wembley. South Africa versus Japan.
South Africa will win this by 30 points.
Yes, easy prediction. Don't put your money. Or let's stop that accent. Don't put any money on that one because those odds are not going to be good. Yes.
No, South Africa are going to batter Japan, I'm afraid.
Yeah, sorry to say. You're right. Murrayfield, Scotland versus USA. USA. USA.
Scotland are going to batter the USA by 20 points. I think this could be something like
at least
35-15. I think this is a poor American team at the moment.
Yeah.
Worrying given the World Cup's going to be over there, but it's a poor US team and Scotland are going to batter them.
I see Scotland putting 50 on them, personally. Now, Ireland versus New Zealand at Soldier Field, Chicago. Who's going to come out on top?
Sorry to say, I think it's going to be New Zealand.
And the crowd goes mild. I agree.
I think it'll be tight. I think there'll be 5 points in it. I think this will be something in the region of 24-19, something like that. But New Zealand are going to edge this one.
Yeah, and I go one step further. I'm going to predict a Cam Roygaard masterclass. I think he's going to run the show.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm on board. I'm on board with that. I think New Zealand do a number on Ireland. I think they steal the win. So yeah, those are our predictions, people. Let us know what you think. Before we bring it to a total close, Rory, any final thoughts for the listener?
Go on, England.
We've been Rucks, Mauls and Oval Balls. This has been episode 8 or so of the second series of Rucks, Mauls and Oval Balls, the fans' favourite rugby podcast. Hope you enjoyed listening. If you did, remember to like, subscribe, follow, send carrier pigeons. We don't mind. We'll listen to anything, really. And we'll be back next week talking more things rugby. Bye-bye.
Ta-da.